Remember the 2017 live-action remake of Ghost in the Shell? I remember seeing it with my best friend, who's a huge fan of the 1995 anime film, and I also remember her being really upset when it was over. But I didn't know the original all that well. I'd only seen it a couple times years before, and I came out of the remake saying, that was just a bad copy of Robocop. And I'm gonna explain why that is, but first we need to establish who the main character, Major Motoko Kusanagi, is in the original material, to understand how she was changed in the American remake, which causes all the similarities to Robocop I'm gonna go on to lay out. Because the studio decided they needed to give a backstory and character journey to the Major, which she did not have in the anime. They assumed a lot of new Western viewers wouldn't accept an unconventional story like that of the anime, heavily focused on themes and questions about humanity. Very, very light on character. We don't know anything about her past, or even when she got her cybernetic body, and the stories being told aren't about figuring that out. She's just a fully cyborg person, and she's not the only one. And if you're gonna make money on a $100 million budget Hollywood remake, you better dumb down the source material and give the audience a nice, easily digestible character story. So instead of focusing on the Section 9 organization or the squad she works with, or even the principal themes of technology and humanity, all of it becomes set dressing for a personal story centered on discovering the Major's identity. If you're only a fan of the anime or the 1989 manga on which the anime is based, you essentially know nothing about her backstory. She's a mystery. And you know what? It would be fine to inject some character development into the anime's story. I think that would only make it better. Flesh out the characters a little bit, connect them more directly to what's going on. Hell, even some fans of the manga dislike the anime's interpretation of the Major, because the manga has a Major with a lot more personality. She's quite expressive, humorous even, whereas the anime makes her cold and nearly emotionless the entire time, to match with the serious, philosophical, ponderous tone it has. Ghost in the Shell's crazy future has the Tachikomas, and while they may pack a punch, so do the mechs in the world of Mekkablood, the sponsor of this video. Do battle against robots in this high-octane retro shooter using 2D sprites developed by the one-man operation at Crumb Games. Blaster shotgun, plasma gun, and rocket launcher as you explore the installations of those bastards at Torx Corp. Mekkablood brings the classic 16-bit era fun as you're facing challenging swarms of enemies, ripping them apart with your saw blades, lunging across the room, dashing to the sides to avoid gunfire, and finding supplies around the map. Tear through 15 levels of boomer shooter action, and don't let a single one of those damned robots live. Like what you see? Grab it on Steam and let them have it. Mekkablood! Abel, say Mekkablood. Mekkablood! Mekkablood! It's Mekkablood! So I'm open to exploring the Major more in a live-action remake. Go for it. But what you wouldn't know if you're just a fan of the anime is that the Major already had a great backstory in the 2002 anime series Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, a series that is much closer to the manga's original tone and portrayal of the characters. Of course, every set of Ghost in the Shell stories has their own continuity outside of the manga, you don't have to consider anything canon, but this fan-favorite 52-episode 2 seasons of television gives the Major a backstory that is phenomenal and could have easily been incorporated into the remake. It's a really beautiful, personal story that deepens her character while still being connected to the themes of Ghost in the Shell and the central plot of the season. So did the remake use any of this story? Or did they say, let's just copy Robocop instead? Judging by the title of this video, I'll give you one guess. There have always been basic similarities between Ghost in the Shell and Robocop ever since the manga. Robocop came out 2 years before, it was a global hit, it makes sense that it would be one of the influences that inspired the manga, like Blade Runner, Neuromancer, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Ghost in the Shell and Robocop are both stories about cyborg cops, and both stories have a showdown with a giant robotic tank with superior firepower. Fine, basic similarities noted. But the live-action movie says, well, why don't we go all out and copy as much as we can for our new original story that barely has anything to do with the source material? Let the comparisons begin! This might be overwhelming at first, but trust me, I'll wrap it all up nicely in the end. The first major comparison is what the Major fundamentally is. In the remix world, she is the first fully cyborg person, only her human brain intact, created specifically as a weapon by Honka Robotics, our villainous company that's funded by the government. This is wildly different from the source material, where the Major's origins are unknown, and she's certainly not the first cyborg. Becoming fully cyborg is common enough in this world that her body is actually a standard model that many have. She even sees someone who looks exactly like her in the anime, and the manga says she was written this way because her special internal components would make her vulnerable to kidnappers who would carve her up and sell her parts. The fact that she's a cyborg doesn't make her special. What makes her special is her way of thinking and the technology inside her, which she could have gotten at the point of cyberization or at the point of entering law enforcement, we don't know. But that's all been changed here to make her the first of her kind. A corporate experimental combat cyborg, the result of many failed prototypes trying to create the perfect military operative. She did not grow up and become a special agent. Instead, from the point of her supposed childhood accident, all memory of who she used to be is suppressed, she's put into this metal shell of a body, and immediately deployed for law enforcement. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? In Robocop, the company Omni Consumer Products, or OCP, has entered into a contract with the city of Detroit to run the police department, as they make plans to eventually demolish and rebuild the entire city. They have aspirations to create a robotic police force, with the vice president of the company wanting to sell these combat robots to the military.
I had a guaranteed military sale with Ed 209.
However, his version is a giant glitchy failure that gets someone killed during the showcase, which greenlights a backup program to produce a cyborg using a human brain. When Officer Alex Murphy goes into work on his first day at a new precinct, he dies horribly and gets entered into the new cyborg program at OCP. He is created as the first fully cyborg person. His memory is wiped, and he's programmed for law enforcement, active immediately. Alex Murphy's story is the story of the new Major. She's now Robocop, created by a company with government affiliation as a weapon after failed prototypes and put into law enforcement with a blank memory. And the similarities don't stop there, we're just getting started. In this new Ghost in the Shell, the Major wasn't just injured in some accident and then given a cyborg body because that's the available technology. No, she was actually taken by the company, along with many other children, to be used in their cyborg program. They did this to her, they took her life. What about Robocop? Well, after the failure of the Ed 209 unit, the head of the Robocop program, after getting the green light from the CEO of OCP to go ahead with his work, says that they have strategically placed good candidates for the Robocop program in dangerous precincts to increase the risk that they will be killed on the job so they can be transformed. So in both cases, the evil company didn't just build and program our hero, they are directly responsible for what happened to them. Whether taken by force as a child or set up to die in the line of duty, it's the same thing. The company orchestrated it in both cases. Now let's talk about memories and friendship. The Major is taken care of by a dark-haired lady in a lab coat that truly cares about her, as the Major sits in a chair receiving repairs. Her doctor fights for the Major's right to humanity and argues with the evil corporation when they want to do bad things to her.
She's a weapon and the future of my company.
You're reducing a complex human to a machine.
I didn't approve. It was cruel, but my work, it was important, and you were born.
Robocop is taken care of by a dark-haired lady in a lab coat that truly cares about him, as he sits in a chair receiving repairs. His doctor fights for Robocop's right to humanity and argues with the evil corporation when they want to do bad things to him.
Nobody on your staff has my experience with him. You need me. We? Who the hell are we? You're a goddamn lawyer. You don't know anything about him.
The only reason he'd disobey an order is if he didn't agree with it.
The chair and doctor are established in the first movie, with the doctor becoming a caring figure in both Robocop 2 and 3. Both heroes have a woman that acts as a friend to them and knows the truth of their identity. The Major has her doctor that helped create her, and Robocop has his old partner who saw him die, so she knows who he is.
Murphy, it's you.
The Major, with her memory suppressed by a drug she has to take, starts having flashbacks to her true past, seeing images related to the horrible moment she was taken by the company as a child. Robocop has dreams about the moment he was executed, which again is a scenario that was engineered by the company, as he sees one of the villains that killed him and it triggers more memories. Both the Major and Robocop set out on a journey to discover who they really are. Both of them learn the truth, that she was taken and he was killed. Taken directly by the company in the Major's case, killed by a criminal connected to the CEO of the company in Robocop's case. Then we get the big return to home scene. The Major goes to the apartment where she grew up and sees her mother, and then goes to where she ran away to as a child and was living with the other children that were taken. The Major walks through the area, replaying scenes from the kidnapping. Robocop returns to his old house where he had a family, and walks through his house, seeing his son and his wife as he replays memories from his life there. The Major eventually goes to see her own grave. Robocop was supposed to see his own grave in the original script, but the scene was cut. However, it was brought back and done for the Prime Directive's Canadian miniseries in 2001. Okay, that's a lot of similarities, but surely the final act isn't the same. Well, at some point in each movie, the company that created our hero makes the order for their cyborg soldier to be killed. Both villains, at the head of their respective companies, give the order.
I'm bringing her in.
Lieutenant Hitchcock on the line! There's trouble in the tower!
The Major is then confronted by a group of special soldiers with machine guns and brought in to be killed with an injection back in the lab. Robocop is confronted by the SWAT team with machine guns, but is shot at right there. In both cases, our hero is saved by the character that has been the most sympathetic to them this whole time. The Major rescued by her doctor friend, and Robocop by his old partner, both of which are the only characters that know the truth about who the hero truly is. And finally, the ending. The Major fights against a giant tank with powerful dual machine guns and rocket launchers. She gets horribly injured, but defeats it in the end. Robocop fights against a giant tank with powerful dual machine guns and rocket launchers. He gets horribly injured, but defeats it in the end. The evil corporation man in Ghost in the Shell is killed by the chief of Section 9, shot in the chest, falling back dramatically, disappearing into the water of the pool. In Robocop, he shoots the evil corporation man in the chest, causing him to fall back dramatically, disappearing into the distance of an incredibly long fall. The final thing Robocop says as he walks out is his name.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
The final thing the Major says as she walks out is her name.
My name is Major, and I give my consent.
Let's wrap it up. Evil corporation working with the government and making military weapons. Evil corporation causing the hero's death or capture. Hero is turned into a full-body cyborg. Hero is the first of their kind after failed prototypes. Hero is revealed to the world from behind plastic. They were created as a weapon. Memory of who they are is erased or suppressed. Programmed for law enforcement right away. Worked on in a chair in a science room by a dark-haired lady doctor. Lady Doctor cares about the hero and argues with the company. Has a female friend that knows the truth about them. Has flashbacks of their old life. Goes back to their home and replays memories. Goes to see their own grave. Company gives the order to destroy them. Confronted by soldiers with machine guns to be killed. Saved at the last minute by their friend. Fights a giant tank while getting horribly injured. Evil company man is shot in the chest and dramatically falls back. Hero says their name in the final line. Am I missing anything? The only thing we need is a directive preventing the Major from going after someone in the company. I'm shocked they didn't do it, but maybe that would be a step too far. They straight up copied Robocop. And I'm not saying the remake doesn't do anything well. There's some things I like about it. Some of the action, a few moments and visuals here and there. It's a bad copy of Robocop, that's my point. Thanks for watching. I did so much research for this video. I've wanted to talk about this for years, cause I'm the Robocop guy. You should check out my other Robocop videos. And finally doing this was a giant task. I had to rewatch the anime to understand and appreciate it better. I rewatched the remake, of course. I read the entirety of the original manga. I watched the anime sequel, and all 52 episodes of the first standalone Complex series, which was amazing. I did all of it just to make sure that the stuff they copied from Robocop wasn't actually pulled from some other Ghost in the Shell media I'd never seen before. And at this point, as far as I know, none of this crap came from anywhere else but the limited imaginations of these four guys. I could be wrong, maybe someone is gonna pull up some obscure Japanese Ghost in the Shell edition cereal box that talks about her being created by an evil company as a weapon. I don't know, we'll see. Hi V, I told you it was Robocop. Bye, 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 bye. Oh God, oh.